here's Brody Brazil.
So this is a video about professional sports, team ownership, Las Vegas, and a league vote. But no, I'm not talking about the Oakland A's in Major League Baseball. I'm talking about Tom Brady, Mark Davis, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the NFL. It's an interesting situation taking place, one that we should be paying attention to. Are there some parallels between this and between baseball and between the A's potential relocation? We'll dive into all of that in just a second, but first let's start with Tom Brady. Obviously, he's interested in the next chapter. He just recently retired back in February from his playing days in the NFL. He also agreed to take on a broadcasting job with the NFL on Fox. I think a lot of people forgot about that because he didn't instantly get into that, but he will, starting next season, become a broadcaster of football games. So that's still happening. Back in May, he agreed to become a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. He had that agreement with Mark Davis and the Raiders as an organization, but that is what is being challenged right now for the way that things are unfolding. Again, we'll get to that in just a second. But he also bought into Mark Davis's other collaboration. That's the WNBA Aces. They won the title of their league last year. They're in the finals of it as I record this video. So Tom Brady grew up with a couple sisters, very interested in getting into the WNBA, and especially doing it with Mark Davis in Las Vegas. But going back to the NFL side, like the WNBA part, it's already done. He's in. They're partners. The NFL thing is being held up, and it hasn't come to a vote yet. It's still kind of in the finance committee portion of it, but it would eventually need a 75% approval vote by NFL owners, his minority stake in the team. Where does that sound familiar? A 75% vote is exactly what the A's need by baseball owners to potentially relocate to Las Vegas. So here we are, owners voting, needing 75%, in one case to let the A's move, in this case to let Tom Brady buy in to an NFL team or not. But here is kind of the holdup, the controversy of all of this. It comes to us from Yahoo Sports. There's a number of different news outlets covering these developments. The Washington Post reported last week that NFL team owners are unlikely to ratify Brady's deal at a scheduled meeting. Brady intends to purchase as much as 10% of the Raiders, which Sportico recently valued at $5.77 billion. And Davis has offered Brady a discount of around 70%, like for that buy-in. Brady would need at least 24 of the 32 ownership groups, that's the 75%, to approve the transaction. And team owners normally follow the recommendation of the finance committee, and that is where things are held up right now in that finance committee. But I mean, just look at this, right? Ownership changes, they happen over time, either majority or minority stakes in it, but a discount of 70%. Now, I fully understand why if you're Mark Davis, you're the Raiders, you want Tom Brady on board. He's got connections. He is an asset himself to strategy, experience. He's the GOAT, one of the GOATs of the NFL, but a 70% discount. Whoa. This is quite the precedent to be setting around the NFL. Denying Tom Brady, if like that's what the league is doing here, or if they're going to change this deal so much that it's like a 15% discount, not a 70% discount, or if they're going to draw a hard line in the sand, like this is what we will and won't do, denying Tom Brady an ownership stake in the NFL, that would be significant at the very least. That's a big no. That's not like a prominent business person who's got no connections and wants to buy into sports. This is literally one of the greatest players and arguably the greatest quarterback of all time in the NFL getting denied part ownership of a team. And quite honestly, I think the reason it's even got to this point, I mean, it would have been a quicker no probably if it wasn't Tom Brady. The reason it's being even evaluated to this point is probably largely only because it's Tom Brady. Now, the NFL could do this if it wasn't for antitrust laws that exist. So this is the issue. Antitrust laws prevent the NFL from fully offering a stake in a team at a 70% discount. This is something, by the way, that Major League Baseball does not have to operate under. Baseball has antitrust exemption. So there's a huge difference right there of baseball versus football. And by the way, I mentioned the Oakland A's part of this. That is a huge question here. It's something that on paper seems easier to approve, right? Like Tom Brady, welcome to the NFL. Yeah, it's easy to say yes. This is a hard no. This is hard for owners to vote no against Tom Brady being part of an NFL ownership group. Like, don't they want him in a position like this? Isn't this good for the league and a team in a certain way? So it's hard to say no to this. And the only real parallel I can draw is that it's easy to say yes if you're a baseball owner to let the A's relocate to Las Vegas. It might be the prudent move under these circumstances to say no, going to the smallest market with a lot of questions on the table. It's harder, though, to say no. But here's league owners in an easy yes situation saying no. Sometimes people assume that the answer is just always going to be yes. Makes enough sense. People will believe it. Yes. Well, in this case, no, because of the antitrust stuff, maybe also because of the precedent that it would set. And by the way, I mentioned that I'm going to want to do my notes here in order. That finance committee, it's made up of seven different other ownership groups across the NFL. Those are the ones that, like baseball, are a committee, make a recommendation to the rest of the owners. But again, this is a precedent of what one team does, who they allow into an ownership group. Does that change the valuations of all the other teams if they were also to sell stakes of their team at an extreme discount? There's not a lot of Tom Brady's out there. How many times could this be replicated? But that is a huge factor here of legally, can you allow this to happen? But also, do you really want this to happen? So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, Tom Brady is good looking, by the way. Have I ever stopped to pause and just mention that? Even when he's here being photographed next to Mark Davis at a WNBA game, but he's not like prepared for this photo. It's totally off the cuff. He's just sitting there watching the game. They're having a conversation. Does he ever take a bad photo? Is there a Seinfeld skit about that? One show has a skit about that. Can't take a bad photo. Tom Brady can't do that. But right now, what he wants, ownership in the NFL, is definitely being paused to a certain degree. Again, we'll see how this shakes out. Maybe it's just a couple numbers being moved around. Maybe he ultimately gets in, or maybe they just say no. At this rate, you want to buy in? We just can't let you do that. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.